Hi. So in this video, I want to talk about some of the techniques or things that you can do to get out of body, do astral projection, maybe even get more visuals. Or at the same time, if you have negative thoughts, if you have limiting beliefs, or maybe entities and all this stuff, what can you do to protect yourself to make your life better? Now, one of the things is I feel like most of my content is around these topics and I'm repeating myself over and over again. But the more sessions I do, the more things I see, like, let's say life is like peeling onion layers and you sort of like have a problem or an issue or something you want to achieve and you do something and oop, you took one layer and there's another and you constantly just try to dig deeper and deeper and deeper, and no matter how much you work you still have some work to do and it's kind of like boring, it's tiresome, it's exhausting, and it's a lot. So with that being said, where to start, huh? This is more of the video for those who know me and who like my stuff. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know where to start. But basically, what I want to say is that like I've been practicing getting out of body. And what I mean is like I have to block my ability. I have to stop it all. I have to turn off the visuals or do things that will get me to a place where most people are, where they cannot see stuff, where they close their eye and it's pitch black. If they try to visualize, there's nothing there. And if they're trying to get out of body, they simply fall asleep, wake up, and can't remember anything. I have to push myself to that standard where I feel like most people do. And from that point, what can I do to get back where I was? Where with my eyes open, I can see visuals right in front of me. If I close my eyes, it's even clearer. I can get out of body and all this stuff. Sort of like, so I want to get the limits that most people have to know your point of view and where you are. And from then on, like where I am in the same hole as you are, what can I do to get out and what can I do to achieve what you want to achieve? That being said, we're going to start with a few things. What we're talking about is a working theory. It might not necessarily be the truth. It might not necessarily be the thing, but all it takes is a bit of imagination and just trying it out and see what happens. It ain't gonna hurt, but you never know. Because the most important part is you do one thing or the other, or you try it all, but then there are results. And some people actually try one thing and it doesn't work, but they try the other, and actually, like, damn, they have some good results. That being said, when I get my out of body abilities blocked, when I get my visuals blocked, and I have to work really hard to get there, I was trying to start doing some entity removal, and specifically, let's not blame it all on just the entities. We also have a bit of consciousness within ourselves. Basically, to tell you the story, like long story short, think of yourself as point of awareness, consciousness, that has lived for billions of years. And through every lifetime, you might, like, let's say, create the world, create the game, and then want to participate in it and want to play in it. So once you create the world, you play in it, you get the character, and yay, it's all fun. And there are times when we find other beings and we want to be together, and maybe sometimes we merge. Maybe sometimes we're like, hey, what if I want to experience more at the same time? And then we start splitting our aspects. So it's basically the concept of living so long that throughout all this time as a consciousness we split and we merge, we split and merge, but at the same time every single bit that has split has have their own life, their own individuality, and they might have experienced some awesome stuff, they might have experienced some traumas. And now when we split and merge and basically keep merging with our beings, when we come here on earth, a lot of the good stuff is turned off. Not like we cannot access it, more like we just don't know about it. We're not seeing it. And all we get is all the crap we're left with. So that being said, when I'm in bed, let's say just finally block my abilities, I can't visualize, I can't see anything, I can't get out of body, I'm finally where most people are. Now what do I do? So I start thinking like, okay, if I don't want to blame everything on entities or on myself, I have to look at things. For example, I can't get out of body, I can't see stuff, I can't visualize. And I know I used to talk about how we need to be very clear, very specific about like choose one little bit and work at one thing at a time. But at the same time, we're freaking powerful. We don't need to only focus on one thing at a time always. So it's okay to have some variety. And what I mean is like, okay, I want to have my visuals and I want to get out of body. So what do I do? And I basically will name absolutely everything. For example, I can't, let's say I can't imagine and I can't visualize because it's just not going to show up, but I'm going to have a thought. Okay, And let's say there is this basket or a box right in front of me, or a bag, whatever's best for you to imagine. So you have this little place where you can put things. And now you're basically trying to locate within yourself and your surroundings and your life and past lives, what is it that is blocking your visuals? What is it that blocks your ability to get out of body, to experience stuff, to get your abilities back? And it doesn't necessarily have to be just that. Literally, what I'm saying, you can apply to yourself in every possible way. Let's say I'm talking about UBIs, but you can expand it and fix your relationships or fix your life in some other ways. That being said, now you start locating, and basically I would name like, okay, can't get out of body again, I finally blocked my abilities, so I can't visualize, I can't see things. And let's say I'm not seeing the entities like I usually do, so how do I know? And well, I think I can get out. I think like I have the usual beliefs where I'm just sort of like loaded with, I can't see stuff, like it's just pitch black right in front of me. And what I do is like, it's just pitch black right in front of me. I take that and I put it in. It does not necessarily need to have a mass or a form, but specifically the thought, the idea that this blackness is constantly sort of like blocking everything, and because of that I can't see it. So like every single thing I can locate and just talk about, I have this thought and I'm gonna put it into this basket, a bag, a square box, or whatever, and I'm gonna load it all up and sort of, okay, finally just like named everything I could think of. Maybe bits of myself and bits of other consciousness or other entities that are in my space. They're thinking that they can't visualize, that they're not creative, that they have no abilities, that they are limited, that they cannot get out. And I will like name absolutely everything I can, and I'll put it in the box and disconnect that box from myself, whether it is a bag or something else. You disconnect it from yourself, you can burn it, you can destroy it, and at the same time, whatever's left over is kind of like the ash and all the stuff. You can send it to the galactic vacuum. You like use the galactic vacuum to send it to the galactic core and get rid of it. Yay! And at the same time, that night I had like 8 hour long Ubi, which was like freaking crazy and good. So there's that. At the same time, the more sessions I'm doing, like the more things I'm finding out, what's limiting us, what's affecting, and all this stuff. So in this recent session that I was doing for a client, I basically found out like we're addressing like an ability to sort of like freeze, like go beyond 3D, like whatever, like he's getting out of body or doing other stuff. He's stuck here on Earth. He's trying to get out, and he always ends up in the same old house, in the same place, same neighborhood, but he can't access more than just that. He can't go beyond Earth and sort of explore the multiverse or other things. When that comes in hand, I was like, okay, like what's causing it? And of course, there will be a whole lot of causes, but I was sort of like, I need to find just one thing and like focus on that. And I found these kind of like hybrid beings. It's something between humanoid, like humans and birds. So like kind of like humanoid bird where it has arms and legs, but the face is more of a bird, like and like has wings and everything else. Very freaking intelligent. They can shapeshift and everything else, but at the same time, kind of lazy. You know, like how there's a saying, like let's say programmers or the people that invent the most stuff are actually the laziest ones, because like if they like are too lazy to do the hard work, they're gonna find an easier way to do it. So it's kind of like the same thing with those beings where let's say their goal is to limit us, because when we access information, when we, let's say, remember our past lives, remember our abilities, or start maybe communicating with other beings out there. Maybe you have your spirit guides, maybe you have your higher self, maybe you have God or some angels or whoever you want to talk to that's actually giving you valuable information, and you feel like it's helping. When you're in contact with those beings, you can get a lot of information and knowingness. And let's say, be another Nikola Tesla, be another Paul McCartney, where you just wake up and you have the music in your head or you have the blueprints and you start creating. Well, that thing here on Earth is sort of like kind of being suppressed, because if everyone all of a sudden started being happy and like really creative, well, that wouldn't be good. Because let's say this group specifically is kind of hired, like their purpose is not to limit us, but more like someone bought them and their service, and now they're going to use their abilities to mess with us because their higher ups told them so. And these bird-like beings, they're very freaking intelligent, and I told you already. But basically, like I found a few things that they're doing. They're hijacking us. And specifically, they're hijacking our mind. Our mind is like a massive nuclear power plant, a battery. It's constantly producing stuff. And most people in the world can't shut up. They can't be quiet. And so constantly in their head, yap, 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 about absolutely everything. Whether you're going to have a coffee, whether you're going to go sit down and look at the world or whatever, or you're sort of like finally read some news and you're just going to, like you're overloaded with thoughts and how it all is. That's how most people have it. So these beings connect to us. And when they find, let's say, negative stuff, when they find anxiety, fear, chaos, anger, and all this stuff, and I'm not saying that you can't feel that and you should suppress it all. What I'm saying is that when we feel things, they use that to produce, or like, let's say, use our energy and produce this kind of like invisible field. And what I'm saying, like, let's say, think of air. You can't see it, but it's there and it gives you life. And so they create a very similar field of energy where using our mind and sort of like constantly producing it, constantly like with the whole humanity, they make a whole lot of stuff covered, like, so like let's say the whole earth is covered with that stuff. And that is working like, let's say, smart dust, like this fog or whatever. But it's kind of like we as humans, we're trapped in it, we're surrounded with it. And you try to visualize, you try to imagine stuff, you try to get out of body, and this stuff is kind of like blocking everything. Like it's more of the astral sense, so to speak, maybe. Like I am not the expert, like I haven't looked at all the details, but sort of like from like, oh, I get the idea. So this field over there is kind of like constantly produced by us, used by them, of course. And now we're being used as tools to create this field that will start blocking you. And when you're trying to get out of body, when you're trying to do astral projection, and for example, you do get out at night, you do get visuals, what happens is that they will use their technologies to sort of like, okay, whatever you experienced is here, like it's happened, you have an experience, but they will sort of like cover it up with a new experience where you're now trapped on Earth. And for example, a lot of people have these dreams where like, oh, simple everyday life on Earth. Driving a car, meeting new people, being in the Air Force, or whatever you have experienced throughout your life, you're sort of having earthly life. Now, at night, most people actually get out of body. They have astral projection naturally. You might have some fun adventures. You might actually do some like interesting projects and actually help other beings or whatever. But literally, your experience that happened like is right here. And on top of that, it's going to be overlaid with fake experience, fake sort of holographic imagery. And now you experience one thing at night and you remember the other. So what they do is make sure like sort of like they're tracking you, they're monitoring you. And when they know it's like, okay, they experience the stuff, so they're gonna sort of like suppress it. And it's not like you can't access it and can't remember it. They're gonna make sure your main focus is on this fake experience, it's kind of like projection, a hologram. And we're focused on that like, hey, yeah, so that's cool. So basically, they're able to shift our attention and sort of give us the wrong picture of what we're experiencing, and at the same time suppressing the visuals with this field and all the stuff. That being said, okay, problematic, Akvile, what do we do about this? So like I said, working theory. It does not matter how we fix it, it matters that the results are actually there. So let's say this massive field, you can imagine it like some gas, like some smoke, like a fog. And literally, you can imagine having a vacuum cleaner in your hand. It might be invisible, it might be natural shape, and you literally like turn it on fucking turbo and suck absolutely everything. And if you don't want to clean absolutely everything, just sort of clean out your area, like maybe like your house, maybe like your workspace or wherever you are, sort of like suck out all this bad stuff. And then you can sort of imagine it blowing up or sort of like shrinking into nothing and going into galactic liquor or something else. But basically, you use your visuals. And if you don't have that, you use your thoughts. Sort of like, okay, where it is a vacuum cleaner, or whether you sort of like imagine just all of that sort of now gone, it's up to you. But the thing is, again, like it does not matter how we do it, because some people can't visualize. Some are just like, okay, my thoughts are not working. Well, like trying tons of different things until you find like, okay, just like this thing, like let's see what happens. But eventually, like I would say, hey, clearing out this whole space, maybe even like focusing on these beings messing with you, or like let's say thing that like what you're experiencing throughout the night and what you remember, those are the projections, the holograms of what someone else wants you to see and remember. So you're sort of like, okay, I have the idea of what's going on, so I'm sort of just like try to disconnect from that, sort of like just maybe shield yourself or whatever. But for all those things, you're getting possibilities where you disconnect, where you sort of like finally, now you're in the safe space, and see if that helps. So yeah, like what I wanted to say is that sort of like there's a whole lot of things going on. And every day, if I do sessions, if I work on myself or whatever, I keep finding more and more things that are affecting us. So we think like, okay, entities, oh, agreements, oh, something else. And there's constantly another thing behind the layer. So we have to keep on working until you find the right thing. So whether it is sort of like just locating the thoughts and everything you can think of, bits of consciousness or whatever, or you see like, okay, like maybe this thing, maybe that is the thing, sort of projections and holograms is keeping you away. So I always feel sort of like focus on these things. Like what I'm saying is what I saw in the session. And with that, like do whatever you want. You can try it out for yourself. Like, okay, kind of like bird-like beings, maybe it's kind of like foggy place around me. Try sucking it out, see if that helps. That being said, I'm going to wrap it up for now, and I'll see you next video. Bye-bye.